Hi, this is Deb from Deb's Corner Canada. Thank you all so much for coming and joining me again. I wanted to talk today a little bit about intermittent reinforcement. And intermittent reinforcement is really the glue that a dark triad has in their little toolbox there that they use to kind of keep you coming back for more. So I'm just going to go into it a little bit more, how that works, and we'll go from there. So number one, I'm just going to go over kind of what the definition. So it's really defined as a delivery reward system for your brain. And so the delivery of the reward will occur at very irregular intervals when it's a reinforcement issue and an intermittent one, right? So it's the delivery of that irregular interval, and it's really primarily used as a form of control. How? Well, it's really by shaping a supply's behavior and also their responses as well. And this battle tactic is really the glue there, that holds all of these little games together, right? It holds that house together. And it's really accomplished by really small, seemingly at first small, little games. So hither and thither games with you, right? And it's really accomplished through that and really steadily increasing those dosages to you, right? So they want to increase that dosage of their dopamine until that dependence is established, until you're dependent on them completely, pretty much, right? So it's by using this system here that victims can really feel an addiction state, like they're addicted to something, that like a hard drug. It's akin to coming off of a hard drug. I'm being quite honest with this when these things end. So as they seek really that erratic validation, so victims are going to seek that erratic validation that they just might get from this dark triad every once in a blue moon, right? They'll throw you a crumb, right? And it's the victim really getting a dopamine rush, right? And really it causes them to become addicted to really chasing a high to get that dopamine rush. And it's the same effect, right? Once you get a certain amount of dopamine, like that's all you can do, right? So this is also the actual foundation for the trauma bond, right? So this is, there's the trauma bond, and this is the glue that's holding up all those walls, right? The walls that you're stuck in, probably. So it makes it really, honestly, and I really mean the most powerful manipulation and motivational tactic that a dark triad has in their little arsenal, right? Makes them, like, this is a powerful one that even psychologists and stuff use, honestly. Military, everybody. So, and for a neurodiverse person, so I personally have ADD, very severe ADD, and perhaps I'm on the spectrum. I'm not sure yet. But anyways, that is my neurodiversity. But I'm talking even people like everybody, ADHD, all different types, right? So when I refer to neurodiverse, kind of that's where I'm going with that. So a neurodiverse person, we already have a major dopamine deficiency, a lack of dopamine is what we have, right? And we chase that within hobbies and things like that. But it makes us really and honestly very, very effective targets. Like we're easy to hit, really easy to hit. And dopamine deficiency too, like if you've got a deficiency, so not enough dopamine, right? Which is what we were just talking about there. It can also really be depleted by other things as well. So I'm just going to tell you other things that can kind of deplete that dopamine. And one of them is drug abuse. Drug abuse, that can really deplete any dopamine levels in a human being. Also, obesity can do this to you as well, as saturated fat can do this as well. These are things I'm just learning myself. And stress, of course, will do that as well. And last but, good old not least, sleep deprivation. That is another one. Interesting, huh? So if you have high circulating levels of dopamine, so if you have too much dopamine, these things can happen, right? Which include like nausea and vomiting. Those things can happen if there's too much of this going on, right? And what's so great about dopamine? Why do we care about dopamine? What does it do, right? So, well, it really helps most human beings feel pleasure, right? So they'll feel pleasure as part of your brain's kind of reward system, right? So, hey, this is what you're going to get for this. Reward, same thing. And samples of really your dopamine being triggered by someone would include things like shopping, sex, or it could be triggered even by smelling some cookies that are baking. Those are kind of how the dopamine can be triggered in someone as well, just kind of naturally occurring, right? So basically the neurodiverse brain is primed for these games. It's set up really quite perfectly for these things to go on, right? And I've broken it down into kind of 3 stages of intermittent reinforcement, kind of where they start, where they end, what to look for. So the first stage here, this is where almost 100%, I'd say 99.9 times here, this is where it's going to be, the interactions with the dark triad are going to look like this. Positive, 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 negative, testing phase, positive, positive, positive. Then over time, and this is steady, very small little bits they turn it up, right? But it's steady, and it will steadily increase. So the second stage here, this is where you're going to notice that the pattern will dissolve a bit. So you're still going to see a pattern, right? We want to see the patterns. And so you're going to seemingly see this pattern. Positive, 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 negative, negative, positive, positive, negative, negative, positive, 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 negative, negative, blah, blah, blah. This is how this little pathway is going to go here, right? And seemingly it's going to look like it's kind of scattered around, that, oh, we're not quite sure, but there really is a pattern to it. And if you write it down, you might be able to even kind of like get down to it, right? So the final round here, the final kind of result that a dark triad's looking for, right, is really designed, like at its core, to replace your naturally occurring dopamine with their dopamine, right? Instead of you getting that dopamine in other areas, they want you to only get the dopamine from them. And so this is the training to get that done, right? And so here in the third stage, this is where you're going to see where it kind of always was, but has been hidden. So in the third stage, you're going to see something like this. Negative, 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 negative. Oh, they might have caught on, or they might leave. Positive, breadcrumbs, right? Negative, 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 and it'll just really keep going that way unless the victim kind of starts piping up, and then they might turn a little bit of a negative, positive to kind of keep the ball rolling, right? But other than that, they couldn't care less. And so the one positive actually there was just breadcrumbing, nothing but breadcrumbing, and but it still will keep you hooked, right? Because really, what's happening here is with the victim is holding on to hope. Always, they're holding on to hope, right? Who doesn't? And that, it's going to someday go back to stage 1, and it won't. It will, I'm going to say it, never, ever go back to stage 1. Because somebody's got to say it, I'm going to say it. It's never going to happen. Makes me sad, but it's never going to happen. And really, another kind of deeper reason too, if you think about it, right? Why you could really be discouraged from things like going outside, right? Getting some sunlight, going outside. Or you'll be discouraged from counseling that you really might need because of everything going on. Or you could be discouraged even from acquiring the proper medication, or acquiring the medication, period, and told you're crazy, and told this and that, and whatever other crazy stuff they think of, right? To kind of keep you away from that solution. They do not want you finding a solution because they want to be your solution. That's kind of the bottom line, right? And in some ways here, you can kind of boost your own, right? You can boost your own dopamine, and you can do it really well without anything else. So I'm going to give a couple tips on this as well. So some ways that you can naturally boost your own dopamine, which is a great idea anytime, but especially when you're in something like this. So things like exercise, and especially for a neurodiverse person, this is quite the little magic bullet. I'm going to be honest with you, always has helped me, always. Meditation or yoga, also a good idea, right? Exposure to sunlight. Like we just said before, you're prevented usually from going out. You're isolated. So there's the sunshine. So all you have to do is go step out in the sunshine, right? Just step out. And also, you can do things like engage. You can engage like really authentically with your hobbies. Just throw all into whatever your passion is. Throw in. That can't hurt either, really, as long as it's something helpful or something that you love and enjoy, right? And really, to, you know, for us as well, I think a big part of this is listening to music. I think listening to music is good for the soul. It's just my opinion. But I think here it's also, you know, it's been studied and it is helpful to kind of help you out with your dopamine, right? And I notice some people that are neurodiverse, they're going to crank a song, sometimes on repeat, right? That's what we do. We'll crank it on repeat. Do what you got to do. Hopefully, I'll see you again next week. Bye for now.